Yes. Works.
All right. I always have these audio issues with switching over to Discord from Google Meet, I believe. Bennett, how you doing, man?
Good. It's Eurovision Song Contest night in this household, so for the next 4 hours, I will suffer through unbearable bad music.
Are you being forced through it, or is this like voluntary?
No. My better half loves it a lot, and I'll I'll enjoy it with her. So yes.
Yeah, so
We'll see what the artists have to offer this year around.
that's fantastic. And, well, if I understand correctly, this is like a big thing in Europe, right? Where it's like country
Yeah.
versus country
Yes.
type of
It's
competition.
it's enormous, and it's the first time. Like last year, they had to cancel it because of COVID, and now they do it with like reduced audience, I think. But I have no idea how it will look exactly this year.
That's great. Who won last year, or what country won last year?
2 years ago, I don't know. Honey, who won 2 years ago? The Netherlands.
Mm, all right.
Yeah.
Nice singing.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Benny, I've been wanting to ask you before I even knew who you were. What is your picture of?
What is that in Discord here?
Yeah.
That's a dwarf stabbing an undead.
Okay. It looked Dragonlancy to me, and I couldn't figure out where it was from.
I'm not sure. I found it on the interwebs. I'm not sure where it's from. But I like it a lot. I have like an art print of it in our room here as well.
Oh, nice. Do you have an NFT of it?
Not yet.
Hey, Blueberry, welcome. I think this might be the first time I've seen.
Hello. Yes.
How's your weekend going, or your Saturday morning? Or afternoon?
Doing okay. Just woke up like an hour and a half ago, played a few games, ate some breakfast, so going well so far.
That sounds like a fantastic morning.
Yeah.
What games are you playing, or what game?
Just playing a little bit of Overwatch. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. How long you been hanging around on Discord and with Leyline? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, if you remember from last week we spoke and you told me to join the Discord server, give you a raw
Yes.
assessment. Yeah.
All
So
right.
I've been hanging around that long. Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, I don't know connecting Blueberry to the name.
Yeah, because my full name is Brian Liu, and my nickname used to be like Blue because B Lou, and then I made that Blueberry. So yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, Brian. All right, because like honestly, there's like 7 or 8 people that I end up talking to that have joined recently and want to
Yeah.
do be volunteers and start working on a project. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
but yeah, thanks for being here.
Mhm.
And feel free to assault us or me with any questions.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot to help explain, being fairly new to the whole thing.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, but yeah, so yeah, normally I kind of bring some topics or stuff to show to these sessions, and then just open it up for any Q&A. But I was figuring, I know there's been a lot of talk and questions about crypto, so we could actually talk about that today. For a topic, because I know there's tons of questions. Bene, I know you have a ton of questions too that I could go into much more depth around, because like I wasn't able to type everything in my head. So yeah, you want to start off with that stuff?
Crypto is always fun, but yeah, I invested all my investment money now, so that's fine.
So just
So
hodl, just hodl.
the dedicated amount of monies has now been invested. Hopefully, somewhat wisely. We'll see.
All right, cool. And similarly, like we could also talk about like how the NFT ecosystem is starting to develop. Like I'm spending a lot more time with those communities, so it can help relay some of the insights over there too. So all about crypto, blockchain, NFTs, we can start to dig into the space so that way all of you guys can learn more about it. Because we're kind of pioneers over here, us as a community, and how it plugs into what we're doing. Oh man, it's so good to see you, Sam and Nick. Been a while, my friends.
Thank you. Thanks. I've been MIA, man, but hopefully I'll be back more.
It's all good. You've been busy living life.
Yeah, I went out to Arizona. A friend of mine is going through chemo, so I went out to help her out for a while. So I was out there basically annoying her so much that she had to get rid of me. So
that's good. Smother them with love.
that's right.
But I mean, I'm sorry to hear she's going through chemo. It's really rough.
Yeah, she's had a really hard time. In November of 2020, she lost her partner of 35 years to chemo, and so that's why I went out there, because she didn't have anybody around. So went out and we hung out for a while, and I'd like to say I took care of her, but it was more like I was just a loafer house guest, and
eating all her food and putting your shoes on the table.
Yeah, exactly. But we did end up rallying her local friends, and we got a good system going. Like, they're gonna cook for her at nights, and they hired a house cleaner. So I felt my job was done, so I came back.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Thanks.
And actually, it makes me think about a couple of things. One is I'm glad we're supporting Boink and cancer research. So every little bit of computing power we can accelerate that could make a difference in aggregate. And it's a big motivation. Like, honestly, cancer is like all over the place, at least in the circles that I'm into. Like, more and more people are running into those really bad situations. And actually, when you put the numbers into perspective, we put a lot of attention into deaths from COVID, but cancer beats that by an order of magnitude easily. So, kind of lost in the noise, we've kind of forgotten about, man, there's so much to push forward when it comes to cancer research. And it's one of the most awful, diseases that we suffer as humans. So anyway, my heart goes out to you and your friends there, Sam. Second, I think something special about what you've done, these are the kind of things that we actually don't really reward in our economy. For you to be a caretaker and to help somebody out, it costs you money and time, and it's like this huge emotional burden as well to see someone suffer. So I feel like there's this opportunity for us to start to funnel Leyline points to that kind of stuff. I don't know how necessarily, but there could be something there. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that would be nice, but I'm like you. I don't know how you'd really track that. But since I wasn't working through an agency or anything, I just went out to visit my buddy. So
I tell you how you track it. You get your buddy to come on, sign up to Leyline, give a testimonial of how you helped, and then we give you Leyline points. We also increase our community.
Yeah, I think there's really something there, and we're really down to like experiment a bunch of things. So the cool thing now that Elijah on the chat has started to build our Discord integration, there could be activity we plug in to some of our channels, and we have the ability to start to reward Leyline points directly on a specific post, along with emotes. So people that support, what you've done actually rewards them too. These are kind of things that we're planning to implement, and Elijah, I won't speak on your behalf in terms of timing, so I'd love to get your thought, or maybe we can kind of give an update on how we're progressing there.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. So as far as account leaking goes, my big chunk of code was merged into the development branch this past, I think, Thursday. So Cream approved all the changes, our senior developer. That'll be tested probably this coming week, and if it goes well, released to the public and production by next weekend. And then I'm also continuing to discuss with him getting a bot running like full time. I have to set up a server to essentially run that, but as soon as that's good to go, it'll be watching for people who link their accounts. And if they don't have the alpha tester role, it'll automatically give it to them.
Nice, lovely. And that gateway gives us this huge platform to build on and run those specific experiments. So Sam, there could be something there. And one like use case, for example, is we are trying to promote wellness and mental health. So even just posting a selfie or video of you exercising, that like let's grant you Leyline points, because like we have a check-in now, which is honor system, but this takes it a level further. It creates this social value and like helps encourage other people to say, hey, you know what, like we're doing this thing. And then boom, you get your points and achievements and NFTs as a result. So that's kind of the thought process there. So yeah, Sam, I'd love to continue jamming on that with you, see if there's a way to do that through just social verification.
Yeah, you might want to take it offline because
Yeah.
there's a lot. But just a quick FYI, chemo is not fun, and the last thing you want to do is impose anything, even if it's logging onto a website and verifying that you're helping them out. You don't want to impose anything on someone who's going through chemo. So while I understand where you're coming from, and it's a good thing, hey, have your friend log on and do this. It's like, no, I'm not going to.
Yeah, no,
Because I do not
absolutely.
want to add another straw to that camel's back. And
Yeah,
I
100%.
showed her Leyline and I talked about it, and she smiled and said, "Oh, that's a nice thing," and that was it. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna push it.
Yeah.
So good idea, but in practice, we have to be somewhat compassionate about the people we're dealing with.
Oh,
who
yeah.
may be the
100%.
ones
That actually falls in though, because we're trying to develop a supportive community, and I can imagine how many people out there don't have a friend like you and would love to have a community where they could sign up to and support that isn't necessarily bleeding the subject that they're going through. I mean,
Yeah.
So I think there's still a path, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah. I think
would
it
honestly-
depends on the person, because there are there might be someone who's going through chemo who's very computer savvy and who would love to log in and be a part of this community. My friend is a bit older. She's about 65 years old, and she uses computers, but she's not, someone who really enjoys gaming or things like that. So, just food for thought. But you're absolutely
totally.
right. If there are people who are already embracing the online community, then yeah, this will be a great thing.
I mean, I think that Sam's done all that he could. He mentioned it, and saw she was interested in it. At this point, don't think that she is. So you know what? Move on. There's always gonna be more people.
Well, I totally agree. I think like taking pressure off the recipient and just more giving a channel for energy to go in that flow in that direction. But yeah, totally. I think this needs a lot more like thinking and fleshing out and experimentation. So this is kind of going to be our science lab experiment playground over here in Discord. We'll see how it plays out. But Nick, it's so good to see you, man. How are you?
It's been a month. It's been a good 2 months. No, it's been a month. Yeah, no, it's. I don't like this month.
Are you through exams and all that?
Sure, but I start summer school in about 2 days.
Oh man! All right, intense.
The grind doesn't stop for the next year and a half, Jeremy. Unfortunately.
No, it's all good. Yeah, just keep the pace, my friend. We've always got your back. If you ever need any help, we're here to plug in kind words onto the channel.
Well, I had a nightmare last night. I thought that my midterm for my Korean class was in 2 weeks, and I'm just like, we didn't even freaking start yet. So I check in and just be like, oh look, cool, help.
Like I said, Crystal's happy to have conversations in Korean if that helps. I mean, just practicing and just like scraping your knees like is a great way to learn. And Crystal's super fun to chat with. Just B, welcome aboard. It's good to see you. Nice to have you. It's okay if you're muted. I'll just talk randomly into the vapor. All right, so questions. What would you guys like to know about NFTs, blockchain, crypto, since that's the topic du jour?
Can I just go meta really quickly on what we were just talking about before you branch off? When I went from being an environmentalist to being a sustainable developer, it was because I realized I wasn't going to solve the problem from the inside. And I think in many ways, what we're doing here at Leyline, we need to give people who might see everything in a utilitarian bent, like an access point. And so I think of all the good deeds that we're doing, like helping a friend through cancer, that obviously has intrinsic value. But in many cases, when we help people get through some struggle, be it depression, cancer, whatever, we actually add utilitarian value back to the economy too. Like if we get people up on their feet and they're back in society, being productive members of society, like we're all taught to be, then somebody who's an investment banker will look at that and say, wow, Leyline's doing a lot of good for my bottom line. So it would be interesting to find like a compassionate way to make that argument to people who might not gel with mission, to kind of go to the other side of the playing field and say, look, we're giving you value too. It's not just all intrinsic stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And actually, what's happening is that this entire blockchain space, all these different apps and platforms and organizations and communities are actually working to come together. So, for example, like these opportunities are just kind of popping in and like kind of crazy in terms of, like for example, we've got connections over to Token Smart, to NFT Tips, to NFTs, WTF, to Hyper, and High Vibe is the next one that's kind of teed up. And all of these folks are really under the same mission, which is we can really transform society in a big way. So that big picture thinking is already there. And we all realize this is actually not a competitive space. It's a collaborative space. We all benefit by opening up each other's systems and platforms and objectives. For example, like NFTs, actually, we're going to drop an NFT today for you guys. And those are going to be transportable to any other system or platform in a metaverse. And essentially, you just log in with your wallet, whether it's like your MetaMask or Kaikus wallet in your browser or whatever wallet you own, soft wallet or cold wallet, or hot wallet or cold wallet. And now you could take those NFTs, your images, your videos, your avatars, and display it in museums, in your virtual home in Decentraland. Take your virtual home and bring it over to crypto voxels. Like this is the future that's being built, and the only way we succeed is enabling that kind of cross-app, cross-chain compatibility. So that's the kind of conversations we're having now, where these organizations have built those bridges, and they're basically saying, like, please come on, we will help you, we will onboard you, we'll give you resources, we'll promote you, because it's all about collaboration. So that's a beautiful thing. And for me, coming from like the super hardcore private sector from Blizzard and Activision, which is like protect every single secret, like fire anybody that lets out information, crush the competition and like, push them out and price gouge them and all this crazy stuff. This is like such the complete opposite kind of space. So that motivates me like crazy to see that developing. And it's just the very, very beginning. These are like the super early adopters and the folks at the bleeding edge. So as the economics come in with blockchain, with crypto, essentially, with new markets of 1.7 billion unbanked individuals now getting access to the digital economy with a smartphone, that the flood of users adopting all this tech is going to be massive, like absolutely massive. So it's cool. It's a great space to be, and you guys are the tip of the spear. And by the way, if you have any questions that you don't want to share over voice, you can just plug it into the live Q&A channel up above, and I'm happy to jump into any of those topics.
This isn't a question, but I owe Pineapple an apology because they sent me a note and I haven't responded. So sorry. I've been away, so I missed it, and I apologize.
No, it's all good. Actually, Bex or Pineapple, what is the NFT we're dropping today? Do we have a preview of that?
We will be dropping the cowboy NFT.
All right.
I can drop a preview of it in a live Q&A channel.
Sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah, and related to the NFTs, I think the next stage for us is on the profile window. We're going to start to build in an art module. So what's happening now is that we've got all these creators and artists and musicians that are like, hey, I love what you're doing. I'll donate some NFT art over to you guys. So what we're going to build in is as those things come into our ecosystem, we'll plug them into the prize pool, randomly distribute them, and you can now display them, alongside your hero shot, your companion, and then you have your art piece as well, like hanging around. And I think the idea there is we want to be able to zoom that out so that you can kind of put that as your spotlight and then take that art piece anywhere in the metaverse. So that's going to be a big deal because there's like a ton of assets that are out there. And Chris, I know your mom actually was considering donating some of her high quality photos, right? Is that
months ago? Christian's got them all.
Oh, he does. Oh, awesome.
100, I think.
Oh
so
man,
far,
we should totally
more
put it
to go too. I was going to ask if there's a style guide or if it's going to be anything goes.
We have a a specs like recommendation so that it displays optimally, but I think we're going to go with anything goes, where we could have like a thumbnail, for example, and then expanding it out sees the full thing. Because you're going to transport it anywhere you want in the long run, so we don't want to kind of mess with the original format. You want to keep it as intact as possible.
Since you're a master at multitasking, you want to jump over to the pet pick channel. I posted a couple foxes that she just happened to take a week ago. Would that be appropriate as is, or do they need to be cartoonified?
No, not cartoonified at all. Because like we're essentially, trying to think of it as it's your own like trophy case and display case. And so I think like we just want to give the option where you could just show one art piece and that's your entire shot. But yeah, I think like we're not aiming for like only one specific cartoony theme. I think we are going to be able to give a ton of variety, and it turns a bit more into marketplace. But the key is when you dig into the NFT, actually here, let me come back and show that mirror board again. Instead of me audio describing it, I should.
And while you're doing that, let me ask too, because I know this was my mother's first question, and it's going to be a lot of people's first question. How do they retain some sort of control over their product so they don't see it in a commercial, like 2 years from now? Is there going to be some sort of verification once it hits Leyline, or some sort of a watermark or anything like that?
Well, actually, the nice thing is that, well, ultimately, every artist is going to want to have their, art available everywhere, but the ownership is specific to that NFT. So at the end of the day, everybody knows that, okay, the original owner, the OG, that like true Mona Lisa is owned by that person. And, you can do like a billion pictures of the Mona Lisa, but we all know which one's the real ones. So,
but that's going to be implemented day one, though. Like, there's not going to be any pilot phase where you kind of have artists that are willing to just lose control over their product. It's going to be the first one that goes up will be minted, will be verified.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
And yeah, I think that's the key is starting to set those like really rules and the IP ownership of what goes into the NFT. So we'll have to bake that into like our terms and conditions where as an artist creates an item on our NFT or donates like the actual asset, we would build in the terms and conditions that that original artist still owns it. They'll be able to monetize off of that. They can choose where else they want to post it. So total freedom to the artist is really like the goal here. So yeah, I'll pull up a screen share so you guys can kind of check out what I'm talking about. So I did walk through this, I think, last week, if I remember correctly. But to put this into comparison, we're still like essentially what we do is every single week we're just developing more and more features, pushing up releases. So you can see in our release notes channel just the progress that we make. So it's just we practice agile development. So we're really building this platform on the fly. So little by little, we'll layer on more and more features.
Sorry, Jeremy, before you go on, is this being recorded?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because last week's I thought was an amazing presentation.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we capture these from now.
Yeah. I think every single one we've recorded. We're just behind the curve publishing it to YouTube and Hyper. But yeah, Jamie's been rocking it along with Crystal to like get us caught up to speed. So yeah, if anyone's interested, we are fully transparent. You can see every one of our all hands meetings where you can see how much of an idiot I am if you go back in history. You can see all the bad decisions that I made. But it also we talk about like our vision, our values, the where the product's evolving, the fact that like we're trying to keep the organization and the business sustainable. Like there's all this like crazy stuff going on as a startup. So if you're interested in just seeing what startup life is, we record it all and just share it as open knowledge. And you can call us on our BS if we ever stray from the original vision. So yeah, coming into this, essentially the profile here, you all know what it looks like, and essentially we're going to start to build in more of this metadata, and ultimately we want to be able to tell these stories through the NFT. Like, what have you done in the world? What are you proud of? What are the things that you did to earn this NFT? It's not just randomly dropping it. There's things that you could do to really personalize this. And ultimately, that's what's part of like the value behind artwork is who is the creator behind it? What was their frame of mind? What was their journey to put them to create this wonderful piece of art? Because like we can just have AI generate art like infinitely at this point. So what's going to differentiate any piece of art is really the human and the story behind it. So that's where we're actually now in the process of building out that like grander vision and visualize it and then just post on the websites like this is what we are building towards. Invest in this organization and donate so that we can make this thing happen and bring a team together. So this hero shot is going to have like key components here. So we already have the avatar, the companions, the general item, and what we'll be adding in is your art piece. So basically, if you want to hang up a piece of art on your physical wall, it's the same idea, just in the virtual world. And also because we're getting music in, we could actually plug in audios and like maybe have a audio playlist or some visual way to plug that in there. So if you want to like play some interesting, unique music that are NFTs, you can actually do that on a platform as well as other platforms too. So if we dig in, so if you open up your art piece, like open up your details over here, what we're going to do is have this ability to level up your NFT. So the way you level up your NFT is that you plug in your Leyline points. And so as you plug in your Leyline points into this NFT, it will start to unlock more assets, more functionality, and also track the history of what you've done to earn that. So for example, now you can see like your Leyline points balance history on your account settings. And essentially you could say, hey, I put in, 300 Leyline points into this, and this is how I earned it. This is the good that I've done in the world to actually build this story and to power and level up this NFT. And you take that story wherever you go. So, let's say you're in your virtual world, you have a friend coming into your room, they click on your art piece and like, whoa, you donated like 3 gallons of blood to earn this, or you've like volunteered and cleaned up this many parks. That's the story we want to tell. And as you trade the NFT, if you decide to, and other people decide to level it up, now you have this whole community story of people working together to, make this NFT valuable, not just from the art itself, but also the contributions that were made to do that. And it tells a story of like our community is actually improving the world at the same time as like building these cool like collectibles. And most of the space right now, when you look at all these NFT platforms and marketplaces, there's just not a lot of stuff backing the value of that NFT. Anybody can just copy and paste the video and then plug it into NFT and put it on a marketplace. Like that's very easy to do. So this effort required to earn it is very important, very powerful. It makes it scarce and it makes it very unique and it makes it very humanized. So that's like really our angle when it comes to evolving our NFTs. And yeah, you'll have all this metadata and descriptions. We also want to reward the creator. So Andrew is one of like our artists that's like done quite a bit of the NFTs that you own now. And so we want to spotlight him and say, hey, check out Andrew, check out his portfolio. His art is amazing. He actually creates comic books and he's doing some awesome stuff where his comic books have AR functionality and you put a smartphone and it starts to animate on the phone. So he's doing amazing stuff, but he needs a way to be discovered. And even more so, if we start to trade and sell these NFTs, that artist can get a small cut of that transaction fee and start to earn some passive income. So really, we're trying to not just like have this impact on the real world, but also reward the creators that are making beautiful stuff and put it all together into this like blended, bucket of good.
Moreover, you talked about building an economy on all through, instead of gold or paper, but it also you're building an economy out of creators. And what better way to support a creator economy than with creators? It just it all kind of comes together.
Yeah, it's and this is like how we redesign the flow of money and the way people are rewarded for, doing things that our current economy really like stifles and totally doesn't recognize. So yeah, that's a lot of the concept that we're now starting to build out visually. And let's see if I could share the storyboard. So on the website and in a lot of our pitch decks, and we'll probably build a video for this, we want to just explain very simply what we're trying to build when it comes to collecting these. And so when we talk about leveling up your NFT and you like hit those progress bars, same mechanic that we have like in Diablo, for example, where you start off at your basic avatar level, you upgrade it and it gets more and more badass. And then the final stage is like the best artwork and it's animated as well. So like the smoke here would start to move. And I think, let me show you the animated version that Cody did. Or rather, let's see here. I think I have to share Slack. 1 second here. Change windows. Can you see my Slack screen with this animation?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this to me, or this would essentially be like level 3 NFT, where it initially is this 2D image, but then we start to build like the unique animated one as a video. We'll do the same for the backgrounds and whatnot. Christian's favorite here is the pet rock. You can see how funky that is. So yeah, that's the vision. That's the idea of how we're going to start to evolve these NFTs. And you go into it, you look at the details, you see what you did, and it's really all these things are functions of the real good that you've done, and then it's a piece of your profile, your story, your digital resume of the good that you've done. We are also building these connections to the other platforms like Hyper, for example, which is like another like YouTube / Instagram on the blockchain. They've got their own badges and like good deeds and charities, so we could plug that into the profile as well. And then ultimately you get to customize. So the same way like on LinkedIn, you can kind of customize who you are and present yourself. This is another place where you can do that, all on the blockchain, embedded into NFTs and on your profile.
Hey, when do we all get pedestals?
Pedestals?
Yeah,
I don't
floating on. I don't have one of those.
Yeah, I don't know. We still got work to do there, and we're like really behind the curve with our engineering capacity right now, which is why we're trying to like fundraise so we can actually hire the team, or get enough volunteers. You know, we're starting to get more and more volunteers coming in, but the challenge with volunteers is that we actually need a lot of like leads and architects that can help like build the structure to mentor to train. So that's like our bottleneck right now is having enough of those like leads to pull that all together.
And I wanted to start mentioning that every Q&A too. Like we get different people here each week. I mean, there's a lot of us old timers that keep coming back, but you know, everybody knows somebody unique. Everybody knows an artist. Everybody knows somebody who's got some social influence. Please be thinking of those people and send them our way because the more the merrier. And we pretty much run off of our volunteers. So if you know anybody unique, please let us know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. We could absolutely use the help. And that's the key. It's like we're trying to build this movement and really change the way organizations function, where it's much more purpose driven. It's all about holding ourselves accountable and transparent. And yeah, we're doing radical stuff, honestly, and it's really difficult. Like we've, it's not made running a business easy. That's for sure. If we took the private sector route, we probably could have gotten like tens of millions of dollars in VC funding and all that stuff. But we're really avoiding that pathway because we want to build a set of people and eventually decentralize it so that people have way more control and say over it. But we need to like take that step by step. So yeah, coming back to this, Antoine, another volunteer on our side, who's a fantastic creative, like he's got his own artwork donated as well, and that's the whole concept. Is like if you want to be able to spotlight and dig into it, like you can have your artwork there. So I'm gonna pause. Like, what questions or ideas come to you guys as you see this?
Well, Sam has a good question in the chat asking, will an artist get a piece of the action every time their art is auctioned or sold?
Yes, 100%. So here's the wonderful thing about NFTs is that NFTs are built on a tech called smart contracts. So we can code any kind of logic that we want in a smart contract. So one piece of the code will be if this NFT gets resold, for example, on OpenSea, the smart contract will already know, okay, here's Andrew's wallet address, which is like either an MetaMask or Kaikis address. And so when the transaction takes place, we already have a 1% secondary sale fee that immediately transfers that portion of revenue to his wallet. So he literally has to do nothing, and then money will just appear into his wallet every time that thing gets sold. And then so the NFT, every time it changes hands, there's always that small cut, which generally is not going to really impact the seller because they're getting 99% of that revenue. And at the same time, they know that they're supporting the creator and the artist behind it. So that's it's actually not very difficult to implement. It's fairly straightforward, but we just want to make sure that's safe and bug free as possible. Because if you incorrectly implement it, it could be like instead of 1%, it could be like 100%. Somebody would be very angry, and then we can't change a smart contract because it's immutable. You can't like mess around with NFT, so you have to get it right on the first time, or it could create lots of bad situations. But either way, there's
too.
what?
I mean, we have some partners that want to create just one unique NFT and they'll get residuals from that. But there might be another artist that wants to do a series of 5,000, and then they'll get residuals from every single one of those every single time they trade. Now, granted, there'll be smaller monetary value each time. Those are going to add up.
100%, 100%. And actually, I could even show you the next thing they're working on. So right now, like the biggest priority on our side are two functions. One is building our marketplace that's going to enable you guys to start to trade and sell your NFTs. And two, integrating the Kaikis wallet. So actually, let me share my full screen now. How do I do the full? Oh, screens. Okay. All right. So now you should be able to see my Kaikis wallet. Can you guys see the browser extension here opening up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Essentially, you'll have your token list here. So as you purchase and you pull in your NFTs, you can actually move from your inventory. Well, we'll basically have an export function to say move to your wallet. Because right now, all the NFTs are actually stored in a backend on our side in our custodied wallet to make the user experience easy, and you don't have to like install stuff to get started. But when you start earning these NFTs, you can actually move it into your personal wallet, and that's where you can kind of sell it on OpenSea, for example. So on OpenSea, let's say you take your NFT and you want to sell it. You basically log in with your wallet here. So you could go to Kaikus wallet and you essentially sign in. And assuming that works here, you can now see all the stuff that's in your personal Kaikus wallet. It just displays here automatically, and then you could choose to sell it right off the bat. So that's really the kind of experience that we're starting to set up now. So we'll both have our internal marketplace where you could trade amongst your own friends, like just using Leyline points, or you can export it and take it to OpenSea and just sell it right on the marketplace. And I think what we could do here is...
Jeremy, while you're doing that, somewhat related, was there a learning curve for getting used to Brave?
No, actually, Brave is just like Chrome, just like so much better. And I highly, highly recommend, because it totally flips the business model. They basically use basic attention token. So they block all advertising, they block all these cookies by default. And instead, they have a user opt-in advertising model where you get like a small pop-up, you click on it. Every time you click on an ad, you get paid. They pay you in BAT. And BAT is cryptocurrency that is on the rise. So, for example, when I started using Brave and started like, clicking ads, I earned like, say, $20 in a month. And then BAT rose and it went 5x. So it's just like your passive income is just crazy by using Brave, and it's super privacy friendly, and it enables all Chrome extensions as well. So it's totally compatible. It's such a great browser. So totally recommend it. But yeah, let me actually show one more thing, which is how the Clayton NFTs are showing up on OpenSea. Since we've actually got a partnership with them and Clayton to get this implemented, because we're building on a Clayton blockchain. So this here, you could kind of browse all the collections, and we filtered it down to all of the Clayton blockchain NFTs. So our stuff is already showing up. It's super cool. In fact, some of you guys own these already. So in fact, it's browsable, and if you want, you could choose to sell them and put it up for auction, and then set your price. If you want to sell it for 10 Clayton or 20 or 1,000, if you really love it. And so what we have to now build in is showing that metadata here. So right now in properties, you can see this cowgirl is a skin and it's common rarity. So we'll add more and more attributes here that will sync up with all of these attributes there. So yeah, it's we're building this thing. It's coming together piece by piece, and it's super exciting that this like technology actually works. So yeah, voila. Questions? Thoughts? Can't believe that I showed my private info. I beg you guys, please cut that out. That could be very problematic for me.
Since they first came to your attention, have you seen any evolution on the OpenSea platform as far as user friendliness, UGI, anything like that?
UGI, sorry.
I'm sorry. User interface, graphic interface.
UI, GUI.
Thank you.
Not so much. I think, after talking to them, it seems like some of their biggest areas are really onboarding the various blockchains. So they're pouring a lot of energy, for example, to get Clayton spun up. So I think they also have a relatively small team. So they're trying to hire a lot of folks. So I think their rate of development's a little bit slow right now. But that's like just my surface knowledge. Like I don't know the guts of their roadmap. But yeah, they're a pretty good team, and well, they're basically the biggest like NFT marketplace out there right now. So it's great to have their support. Because when we go live with our celebrity charity auction, which actually we pushed out to end of June, by the way, for a number of reasons. To make sure it's a quality launch. They'll help promote us. They'll send an email blast to their community, Discord announcements, and then have a front page spotlight for the auction. So it's super cool to get their support on top of Clayton and Cacao to help promote as well. So things are looking good. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of like risk involved, but I think we're going to go in the right direction there. All right. I talked. Oh yeah, what's up, Sam?
Sorry. That wallet was called Kaikas.
Yeah, Kaikas. So if you just like pop in a search, it'll be the first thing that comes up. It's on the Chrome store. Just to make sure.
Pinned in our Q&A channel. If you go to our pinned tweets, you'll see links that Jeremy provided before for wallets and stuff that he recommends.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. And there are more wallets that support Clayton as well. It's just that this one's like the easiest user experience just by putting in the Chrome tab. And the key is just save your seed phrase. That's super important because that allows you to just log in anywhere with the seed phrase and a password. So it's totally portable anywhere on the internet. Or rather, every browser that supports the extension. So it's cool. The utility of blockchain is really fantastic, where you could just take all of the things that you own anywhere you want. And obviously, it's up to a lot of these apps and open worlds to support it, but that's totally the direction that it's going. And at this point, I think it's unstoppable. There's just so much momentum behind it. And then all these organizations and businesses that are building these cross-chain functionality, it's going to make it super easy for developers to start to integrate with each other. So yeah, what a lot of people are doing is like they're just collecting NFTs all over they can. Some of them are going to be junk, some of them are going to be wasted, but some of them are going to go like super huge and super valuable. And so yeah, that's kind of the bet you guys are making on us, is that as we get our stuff polished up and start going big, your NFTs are going to have this like wonderful value behind it. And it's super unique. Like no one else is doing what we're doing right now in terms of storytelling, the evolution, pulling the community together and building that impact.
Not to mention the partnerships.
Yeah, it's really setting us apart. And as I'm going into these communities and podcasts and clubhouse rooms and Twitter spaces, it's resonating. Like a lot of these like leading folks that are leaders in the space and really passionate about it, it just clicks. And they see the value, and that's where we're getting like all the support and volunteers and all that good stuff. And also turning into grants, like people are donating into, or pledging to donate into the org. So it's exciting. It's exciting that this idea is starting to really turn into reality bit by bit.
So you had started off saying we were going to cover crypto a bit. I'm wondering if you might speak to the current crypto crash and how people that might be just getting into it can talk to their friends about why this isn't a reason to burn the house down.
Yeah, that is a great question. So understanding the crypto markets, you have to have a very global perspective and also zoom out over time. So where we see a lot of volatility, and this volatility will be there probably for a number of years, is the adoption rate is still very low. So we're probably talking about 1% of the global population starting to get into this. What we're seeing is this exponential curve in adoption. But because it's a very smaller set of users and owners, the people that have like a large amount have like a lot of influence over how the market's set. So there are going to be big triggers, and this latest bear market really got tipped off from Elon Musk. So he's really he decided to disable Bitcoin transactions because the proof of work protocol, it has a really large environmental impact. So what he wants to do and what Tesla wants to do is actually onboard more efficient cryptocurrencies. And so right now he's like pumping and pushing out like Dogecoin because one, he's a troll and it's really funny. But also it's like it's got this real like power as a meme, and memes are this huge way to communicate information in a very effective way. It adds humor, so it resonates. So Doge, despite it being like a shitcoin, has now turned into a legitimate thing because there's a community behind it. So what happens is that when people start to influence the markets, it creates this FOMO, this fear that, oh my God, is this crashing? I need to sell off. So that triggers all of this like sell off momentum, which is what we see exactly in the stock markets. It's just that the magnitude of this is much higher. And if you zoom out, what you have to pay attention to is the adoption rates globally. And in particular, think about the 1.7 billion people that don't have a bank account. Now, imagine yourself. Imagine that. Okay, like Chris, like for example, how did you get your bank account? Like, what did you have to do to be able to transact on the internet?
Well, it's beyond bank account. When I was trying to get an apartment a few years ago, I had a bank account with a decent amount of money in it, slow, and I couldn't rent anywhere. Like I honestly would go into a bank and I'd be like, "Look, I got 6 figures in my bank. I'm sorry, an apartment complex. I got 6 figures in my account. Can I rent from you for like 1,200 a month?" And they were like, "Sorry, we need to see cash flow." So
Yeah.
it's beyond bankability; it's even livability.
Yeah. And you need that account in order to even like get access to purchase something on eBay or Amazon or whatever. You need a credit card. Or to get a credit card, you need credit. In order to get credit, you need a bank account. So these 1.7 billion people are totally blocked from participating in this exploding digital economy. So what blockchain does and what crypto does is you can just get a smartphone, click a few buttons, get your wallet, and all of a sudden you could participate. You could sell stuff like your creative artwork. You could get a job and be paid in crypto. You can purchase things. So now what happens is this entire market opens up. That is a gigantic amount of people that are now going to participate in this economy. So when you see that and look at that lens and you project out what does the next 2 to 3 years look like, the growth in the space is unbelievable. It's going to be just below your mind in terms of how many people are using this new form of currency. And there's like incredible utility on top of that, in particular with NFTs and smart contracts, where you'll start to see entire industries port over. Now, think about the real estate market. If anyone's like bought a house before, you got like stacks and stacks of papers you got to sign. There's no like centralized database around it. People can just create papers and there's no way to prove it. People can manipulate stuff. You could lose your papers and someone else could say, "This is my house." And this happens like in Africa, for example. Like you have government going in, it's like, "You don't have any papers. You don't own this stuff. Like it's ours now." And they just like point a gun and it's like game over.
I'll do you one worse. After I purchased my place, my mortgage got sold against my will. The mortgage company I went through sold it 4 times in 3 years. So I was constantly getting like, "We own your house now. Nice to meet you." And the inability for me to impact that choice was super frustrating.
Mm-hmm. So now you can see this is a global source, fully transparent, immutable, unhackable, largely unhackable. And that'll replace these traditional business models that are, super insecure, super inconsistent. And now apply that to any type of legal business model, apply that to any type of transaction model. These things are now going to move onto the blockchain and be hyper efficient and globally distributed. You don't even have to worry about changing to a different currency, which will cost you like 20% of your money, and wait for a bank to approve it because they don't trust you. So they have to do background checks and credit checks. All that stuff is just now automated and built into the protocol. So that's the kind of lens you got to put into crypto and realize that more and more people are going to use this all over the globe. And that adoption is happening super fast. So that to me is why I don't worry about the crypto markets. It's actually going to be volatile because there's like easy influence on a small market. But as it grows, these big players won't have as much influence as they do right now. And yeah, so being in a space for like a year and a half now is like, once you hit your first dip, it's all about like, oh my God, it's like panic. But then when you realize like, okay, it's going to come back up and there will be dips again, you start to kind of build a thick skin. It's just like, all right, yeah, this is the way it goes. So try to think in the long term. And when you're doing any investments, also think about the fundamentals, like where this thing is going. Don't just look at the numbers going up and down. Think behind how this thing is being used and is it creating value to society. And once you recognize that, okay, this is a better thing to invest in because that there's like something behind it. And that's where. Go ahead, Chris. What'd you say, Chris?
Oh, does government policy give you any hope? Like this latest China?
Actually, China's had cryptocurrency banned for 3 years now at this point. They just reaffirmed their stance, and then people interpret it as, oh, this is a brand new ban. But here's the thing. Again, economics plays heavily into this, and I just posted this into Discord, I think, recently, which is, take for example Iran. So Iran has like massive sanctions on them right now, particularly from the US. And when you're sanctioned as a country, it destroys your economy. You can't get resources, prices inflate, there's like, it actually leads to like a humanitarian crisis because people can't afford food. So what they're doing now is just they're mining Bitcoin, and they're making like billions of dollars. So they're like, forget the US, we're gonna like make tons of money and then just buy it elsewhere. So it's the smart countries that are realizing, okay, there's money to be gained here because it's utility. So these countries will skyrocket in their economic value, and the countries that ban it are now preventing their citizens from participating in the economy, which is tax revenue, and even like the governments themselves choose not to invest and rise up their coffers where they can reinvest in infrastructure and security for the people. So what'll happen is the countries that are the early adopters end up getting this huge rise, and the ones that banned it realize we did some economic damage and we lost an opportunity there, and then they'll change their tune. So, again, like you're going to see that in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, as those countries start to have additional smartphone distribution to the order of like hundreds of millions. It'll drive like a ton of progress and prosperity. And so countries will wise up. US is still kind of debating that and figuring out what to do here, but they just see it as like, okay, let's tax this and get a bunch of revenue coming out of this. And so that's the debate. It's like, okay, do we chart, what rate do we want to put on top of this stuff? Like, is it an asset class? Is it a currency? Is it a security? And labeling it first and identifying it and then applying a tax rate is what they're going to start to figure out now. It's unlikely they're going to ban it. And if they do, it'll likely be overturned once they realize like we've now lost the race. So and again, like I could be totally wrong here, but that's totally the trend that I see. And like that's the vision that a lot of these like really smart people behind the stuff are basically projecting.
It's the taxing I worry about. I know we've talked before about how crazy it is to tax an NFT as income rather than investment, since they're all about investing.
Yeah. And I think the same like mentality applies, which is, taxation again is like you tax something and you want to disincentivize. So if you do that, you're going to see capital flight and investor flight and all these people that are going to go to like other countries and say, you know what, I'm going to Puerto Rico because their tax rate is like almost nothing for crypto. Or I'm going to go to Mexico, or I'm going to live in Cancun or go to Bali and, just operate from there. So, there's certainly an incentive to not like be too punitive on this market because, they got to recognize that this is where things are going to explode. So it's fascinating, like how this place is evolving or how this industry and its ecosystem's evolving. And it's moving fast, really, really fast. Like I can't even keep up, and I follow this stuff very closely. But yeah, that's a bit of crypto knowledge there, and I hope that was helpful.
Thanks so much. I got to run to my next meeting, but it's appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. All right, any other items you guys want to talk about? Any questions before we wrap for today?
Yeah, Paul was asking if cryptocurrency could replace US dollar or the euro.
I don't think that will happen anytime soon. So much of our global infrastructure is really based around that. I think and there's no reason why they can't coexist. I think what'll happen is the value of fiat currencies are likely to drop. In fact, you see the signals now where inflation's already outpacing previous annual growth, where I think we're at maybe 5 to 6% now. You could feel it in like food and groceries. So all these essentials are now getting hit. by the huge cash infusion that took place where we printed trillions of dollars and more than we've had in the history of all money. And also, because of the catastrophic hit to our supply chains from the lockdowns and quarantines, there's this trickle effect of business getting impacted. So what'll happen is the value of the dollar, because of inflation, will lose value, and then relative to crypto, the crypto value will continue to increase. So you'll basically see like a shift in the dominance of the U.S. dollar, which is kind of the global standard. So that part is like super hard to predict. Like macroeconomics, like nobody knows like the reality there. But yeah, I don't anticipate any of the fiat currencies disappearing, not for a long, long time. They'll just like start to lose their relevance, or the shift in power and dominance will start to adjust over time. But this could be a generational transition.
Well, in that same vein, Sam asked that, there seems to be a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. Will some of those wash out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the vast majority will die out. There's a lot of them that are just total like crap projects. Others may have like not as much utility or adoption. So likely we'll end up with like, less than a dozen big winners that everybody like ends up using. But who knows, honestly, like this is a totally new world. But yeah, I think when you're investing or buying, always look at the project fundamentals, the protocol it's based on, the team behind it and the developers, and then the community behind it. Like those are all key things to evaluate. So community drives everything at this point. It's like you need to have people that believe in this thing and have social consensus that it has value. And through that, you get more adoption. You have them become your advocates, and that'll drive the usage, and it'll drive the value of the coin. So yeah, I've listed out some of my personal favorites that I've done a lot of research around and have seen like really big traction. So happy to share the info. I mean, again, like legally, like I am not going to give you like direct investment advice, but at least I'll just share the research that I've done, and then you should decide and do your own research before you choose to invest in anything, because I could be dead wrong, and take it purely as just education and knowledge sharing versus go do this thing.
Yeah, if you could share that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, so I guess I could post it onto the crypto chat. I think actually I might have already done that. If you just scroll up, Sam. And off the top of my head, VeChain, for example, is a very strong project. There's a ton of adoption in the business to business sector, particularly in manufacturing. And it's really designed optimally because it allows staking. So just by holding it in your wallet, it'll just accrue value by creating a secondary token for you. And yeah, you just do nothing and you earn income, which is like way better interest rates than putting it in a savings account, for example, which is like less than 1%. You're going to see probably 5 to 6% gains easy. And then on top of that, the value of the coins rise. So it's tremendous. Cardano is another one that is a fantastic project, amazing team behind it, huge adoption, investing a lot into Africa to really get the unbanked banked. And they use a fantastic approach to building their project, which is like all scientifically and academically peer reviewed and ratified. So those are kind of two of my favorites, but there's a few more. And but yeah, again, always be careful, always do your research, get second and third opinions. Like don't just rely on what I say, because I'm an idiot sometimes and I make dumb mistakes.
Cool. I scrolled through crypto board, but because I'm lazy, is there any way to pin?
Yeah, I could totally repost some of my thoughts for sure. See if I can take
Thank
care
you.
of that. Yeah, my pleasure, man. All right. We're up to our hour now. Last call for questions or comments or concerns.
Paul was asking if you have any thoughts on proof of capacity coins.
Oh, yeah, I actually started to read a bit into it. It is a fascinating concept. which is far more efficient, where it's essentially using your spare hard drive space, and it creates validator nodes like just on whatever empty disk space that you have. So there's a ton of efficiency to be gained out of that, even more so than proof of stake. I think the challenge is which blockchains support it, which coins, and do those coins actually have traction? So yeah, very early days, I still have to do way more research on that. Yeah, I mean, and Martin, I think, has a good call here, which is what is the impact on your hardware as a result? It's quite unproven, though conceptually it's super cool. And I'd probably wait to see how that plays out. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Paul. I mean, there's going to be economic incentives to do that, which is already the case now. And one of the interesting things is like the Bitcoin and proof of work model really comes down to energy. So the miners are going to focus on how do I get optimal energy to run my servers. And so you'll see, because it's globally distributed, all these businesses and miners are going to go to low cost areas and low energy cost areas, focus on renewables because it's becoming cheaper now. So it's actually driving the economy towards greener energy. So the hard drive thing will be interesting because now it'll drive demand for those resources, and that could lead to more like physical mining for rare earth minerals. So yeah, I don't know if that's a net negative or positive, because there's less energy consumption, but maybe there's more like hardware usage, which could be challenging. But those are super macro challenges to consider. And that's where like limits of my knowledge and wisdom are basically nil. So again, don't take my word for it. Yeah, and Martin, like that's definitely the thing, which is reliability of the data. So I'm not sure exactly how the protocol works and whether it's like, has a lot of error correction or prevention. Super tricky. Yeah, Pineapple. My personal favorite is Ada. Is Cardano for sure, to answer your question. It's very purpose driven, very mission driven, and I think they'll have a huge impact on eradicating poverty. All right, guys. I think we can call it for today. I hope this was helpful, and yeah, man, we're building little by little. We're getting momentum. It takes time, and it's a grind. But yeah, things are looking good. And thank you all. Seriously, thank you all for being here, for being in really early stage, supporting us, and being a part of this thing. And yeah, super appreciative.
Cool.
Yes.
Thanks for
Thank you
doing
so
this,
much.
Jar. Appreciate it.
All right, have a great weekend.
Have
Bye,
a good
everybody.
weekend, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.